Welcome to Comics and the Cross, the greatest streamers and reviewers that you've never heard of. My name is Caleb, aka Spacehawk, and with me today is Ed Jowett, who is the creator of the Error games. How are you doing tonight, Ed?
I'm doing great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm definitely one of those that you've never heard of, and that's fine. That's okay.
Us
Let's
either.
change that. Let's
Us
make that a
either.
thing.
I like to I always like when Cross says this. He's the head of Comics in the Cross. Whenever he says that, I always also like to insert. But you have heard of us, haven't you? So well, anyway, Ed, like I said, comes from he is a TTRPG creator. He has created Era, and you've also do Era. You have comics as well, right?
So I create comics. Yes, role playing games, of course. Card games. I've written several novels. I've created a movie. I have done miniatures. I have done audio dramas. You,
That is
you name it,
awesome.
I've probably had a go at it. The
That's
thing is, you
awesome.
see, I like to create universes,
Yeah.
and then how you tell the story within that universe sort of varies based on the kind of story you want to tell,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I started with tabletop role playing games, and I started with the game we're going to talk about today, Era the Consortium,
Yeah.
which is an epic sci-fi RPG. The thing is that I created Era the Consortium because I was a little tired of kind of having to go out and buy Star Trek and Star Wars and Firefly and my brain's not working, Babylon 5 and
Mm-hmm.
Farscape and whatever sci-fi game, there was its own RPG, and you couldn't really easily bend one to fit the others because they weren't tonally working and mechanically working. So what I decided to do was actually create a tabletop RPG where you have all of those things in one. And what
Mm-hmm.
I came up with is Era the Consortium. In Era the Consortium, you've got 500 years of playable history.
Wow.
So you open up with, if you want to do landing on a planet, as a colony ship landing on a new planet, uh, boom, crash. Now build your society your way. You start at the beginning. If you want to play the Star Trek thing, you go a little later and you're exploring space and exploring new worlds, encountering alien races, and surveying planets and all the rest of it. Whatever your poison is.
Mm-hmm.
Little later than that, you can do Starship Troopers when there's this big bug war between humans and Ulutians, who are the first race that humans met, and then the Zimians, who are an insectoid alien race. You want to go a bit later, you can do Cyberpunk, you can do Aliens, you can do whatever your thing is, you can do it as part of Era of the Consortium. That's what the game was designed for. So all of the equipment, for example, it has a first year you're allowed to use it in,
Mm-hmm.
to give you an idea of, okay, well, until then it's not that advanced, so you can't have, like, I don't know, laser weapons until 200 years in, because they haven't developed laser weapons yet. So it's all done with that in mind, and the march of technology and time, which turns this epic story into a scaffolding to play your own tabletop RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Well, within that, that is the natural environment to build a comic about the bug war,
Yeah.
where we explore, like, the people who are directly affected by it. It's a natural environment to do an audio drama about a deposed CEO from one of the major companies who decides that he's going to wreak his revenge on everybody. It's the perfect environment to go, right, you know what, I just want to do a story about a dude who's stranded on this alien, not alien, I'm sorry, this space station which was abandoned 100 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the audio drama Stranded that we did. It was inspired by, I don't know, the likes of Stargate Universe, where they arrive and they aren't able to do they aren't able to do the basics of keeping alive. Where's the air, where's the water, and so on. And so on and so on and so on. There are just so many stories we can tell. I'm just finishing off an audio drama called Auditor. We wrote it during COVID, and it's taken us a very long time to sort of get it all sorted out. But it's really about radicalization. It's about how a person goes from being your basic normal individual to being someone who would join the resistance against the government, because these things happen over the course of 10 episodes that push this person in that direction over time. So really, for me, it's a framework to tell whatever sci-fi story you would like to tell.
Yeah.
And I love sci-fi. You might have gathered from my initial sort of pronouncement.
I mean,
there.
same. So you're in good company.
Sci-fi. I came up with 40 different subgenres of sci-fi. I laid them out in the rulebook to make sure that it's very clear how you would do each thing I could think of as a lifelong sci-fi fan. Era the Consortium doesn't do absolutely everything. It is hard sci-fi. So you miss out on your Mass Effect space opera. You know, your really broad, I'm going to a new star system that no one's ever heard of. You can do that, but you're not going to be hopping between stars all the time and exploring 15 new star systems, scanning for iridium. You're not going to be doing those things quite so much.
Yeah.
You're doing more sort of grounded stories. And over it's now on its 10th anniversary, Era of the Consortium.
Wow.
I recently made a 10th anniversary rulebook. It's actually at the printers now. So I'm really excited for that. I've got my 5th anniversary rulebook here, though. This is the definitive edition rulebook of Era of the Consortium. It's 420 pages. And there are also 18 expansions for this game so far, with another 3 funded by a Kickstarter that just finished.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any guided stories, or is it all like you need to homebrew it?
No, absolutely. I believe that it's really important to give guidance for those people that want it and freedom for those people that don't. So, you know, I'll do anything from here is an expansion I wrote. It's called Revival, and it's think aliens and Dead Space. I love those things. This was originally going to be like a 25-page book, and like just quickly going through everything, and I got a bit carried away. Here's the spaceship that you explore.
Wow, that's
with
cool.
Maps of every area, and all of the things that happen in the areas where you go to them. It went from being a 5-session campaign to a 15-session campaign. It's 150 pages long, this expansion alone. It's got its own rules around limited ammunition and so on to give it that survival horror kind of feel, because I wanted anyone who plays it to feel that, do I fire the gun or do I leg it? Because if I fire the gun, I might not have the bullet for myself by the end of this, you know?
Yeah. Dang, that's awesome. That's intense.
So, you know, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. That's just one example. I've done 5 books of a time travel campaign where you literally travel back in time and reshape the Consortium from the very outset, potentially completely change it from what the history says as a guideline. And at the same time, you can easily go, right, well, I want to do a story about encountering the first alien race, and I'm going to do it my way. So I'm going to look at the things in the book, and then I'm going to throw everything else away and just go, I'm going to tell the story my way.
I really like that. I like the freedom, the world building, the things affect other things, the mass storytelling. It seems like this is with this series. Let me ask you this. I was looking online and I noticed you have a certain webpage for the Era D10 system. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is that your own system?
So the Era D10, yeah, absolutely, yes. The Era D10 rule set is a multiple D10 dice pool system. Now, I designed it while I was creating Era the Consortium. Creating the whole game took me about 2 years in total. And I am a former computer programmer. I'm now a project manager. And my brother is a mathematician. He gave me a lot of help with doing a lot of statistical testing, and then I started doing lots of sort of simulations and really did a lot of arm's length rigorous testing around various aspects of the rule set. It works somewhat similarly to the White Wolf storyteller system in some ways. So it uses multiple D10s. You have a threshold that you want to reach. You don't have to do any arithmetic mid-game, which I find is a bit immersion breaking in general. I think it's a problem. Obviously, I'm going to maths geek for a second here. It's a normal distribution when you have a bell curve, as you guys call it, on the other side of the pond. It's a normal distribution for multiple dice. So that means that you remove that problem automatically that, say, Dungeons and Dragons has, where if you run into battle and you roll a 1, even if you've been in 100 engagements, you drop your sword on your foot, the end, you lose.
Yeah.
And it's as likely if you've done 100 engagements as if you've never held a sword before in your life, that you utterly fail and humiliate yourself.
So
With
comparing it,
D10s, that's not true, because the more dice you have, in general, the more likely you are to get a success. You get that bell curve. And based on the number of dice, the bell curve for likelihood increases the number of successes that you are likely to get.
Yeah. So comparing it to the the like D20 system for D&D, what is this? Do you have to, like, what's the level of, I guess, difficulty to like come in? If I want to learn this tomorrow, am I gonna struggle to learn it? Is this something that it's gonna take me a while to like get a feel for it, or is this like more user friendly?
So I've had people both who played D&D and it didn't work out for them, which is totally fine and totally fair enough. And people who've never played a tabletop role-playing game before. I run a stand at MCM Comic Con, which is the in London, which is the big comic convention in this country. I have run a stand there for many, many years now, and I have had people sit down and play within 5 minutes. The thing is that it's actually way easier to learn than D&D, because all you have to do is go, right, well, here's my sheet. I'm going to punch something. So the GM says, right, that's strength and brawl. You count the number of dots you have. You roll that number of dice. You count how many are above, say, 7.
Yeah.
It's very easy. And not only that, it has a bonus over the D&D thing. I find a lot of new players in D&D, they'll go, that's a 15, and kind of look unsure at their GM about whether that's enough.
Yeah.
In Era D10, you roll your 7 dice and you instantly know, right, there are a lot of 1s there, that's bad. Or there are a lot of 7s there, and you kind of instantly know whether your roll was good or bad, and you're counting them up, and you're sort of getting the idea very quickly. I've never had anyone really take more than 3 or 4 rolls to really understand what it is that they're doing. I've had a lot of people, again, I have to say, if you're out there and you love D&D, good on you. It's not for me. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I would always encourage everyone to try different games and not just stick with D&D. I think there's a lot of marketing effort from Hasbro and Wizards that tries to tell you there's nothing else.
And here on our channel, I actually created my own role-playing game called Book of Astra, which we're on a break right now as of this recording, but we're actually picking up January 5th, I believe we are going to be picking Book of Astra. It's a post-apocalyptic game, kind of inspired by like Fallout, Borderlands, that sort of vibe. And yeah, it's different. I wrote it. The rule set is very similar to 5e, but it's also a different game. It's a different like world. It's post-apocalyptic. I had to figure that out. And, coming from someone who has, of course, I'm not near the level you are with yours, but someone who has had to figure all of this stuff out.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
It's very rewarding, isn't it? It's great. It's so much fun.
It is so much fun. Now, I have ADHD. I hyperfixate, and I wrote my whole game with all the rules in 5 days. Which, now, of course, we tweaked it over time as we played it. I was like, this doesn't work. But my hyperfixation, you can ask anybody on the Comics and the Cross team. They're like, Caleb had the idea on a Wednesday. It was like Sunday. I was like, all right, when we're playing. Like, I got it. I'm done. Let's go.
I know the feeling. I actually did something vaguely similar. Here's my post-apocalyptic game, Era Survival. 6 months from idea to printing on that particular one.
And you get it, but it's so much fun. And the whole point I'm bringing up with this is that when you find something that you love, it's just fun. And and just like you're saying, maybe D&D's not for everybody. Maybe Era's not for everybody. Maybe, these other Pathfinder's not for everybody. But, once you find something like this that you truly love, you just get it, I guess. You get that feeling. Like, I found out my game that I truly love Book of Astra. It's such a fun game. And yes, of course, it only took me 5 days to write it, and as we played it, I'm like, this isn't really working. We need to tweak all these different things. But I was excited about it, and I could tell, like, you're pumped up for Era. I think it's awesome, man. I honestly, it's cool to see how much work you put into it. I'm looking on your website. I'm looking at all of the different, like, editions: Era Bloodlines, the Kaiju, Dead West, Friction, the Chosen. This is awesome. This is super cool.
There are 18 games that currently run on Era D10. The latest is Era Shock Ninja, where you play. Just bear with me for 1 second. You play as a ninja shark who fights against alien diesel punk robots who have enslaved humanity in order to drill for oil to power their intergalactic invasion force. You play as the shark ninja who free humans, not because you're altruistic, but because humans taste better when they're free range.
It's so great. It's so wacky and so great. I love it. But see, that's what I'm saying, man. You find things that you love, and it just inspires you to create more and more and more and more.
We just had a bit of fun.
It's just fun.
We just created that because it sounded like a giggle, and the space to do that and the ability to do that is something that I've built over 10 years. This might be one of my fastest ever turnarounds for a game, actually. I did a workshop at MCM Comic Con, and it was create a tabletop role-playing game in an hour. And I did that in May, and I was going to do it again in October, and I thought to myself, right, I probably have to put my money where my mouth is on this one and actually prove that if we create a tabletop role-playing game, because we did this in May, if we create a tabletop role-playing game, I am going to actually make this thing. Yeah. If October's going to run, people need to be able to believe it,
And see, and by the way, if I am just all over the place in this interview, it's once again ADHD. I
also have ADHD.
I have
it's
thoughts.
Absolutely fine.
Sometimes thoughts come out of my mouth, like words come out of my mouth. See, thoughts come out of my mouth. Words come out of my mouth, and I go nowhere with them. So,
believe me, I understand, and I feel a little sorry for anyone who's watching without ADHD.
Yeah,
because the two of us are probably talking complete crap.
People are gonna watch this and be like, "What? Where is Caleb going with whatever he's saying?" And I don't know. I have no idea. Just know that we love tabletop role-playing games, and you should too. And you should check out Era. So,
absolutely,
that's all you need to know.
I think no matter what you want, sci-fi wise or even fantasy wise, we have Era Dragonsong, which is a world with lots of magic. I'm a sci-fi guy, and sci-fi creeps into everything, whether it's my post-apocalypse or my fantasy. And there are these giant floating cities that no one really knows too much about. They're chained to the ground. If you imagine, if you're a World of Warcraft player, if you are, or if anyone watching is, Tempest Keep was a big inspiration.
But I get the visual. I totally get the visual.
Chained to the ground, and no one really knows why. You can't get to it because it's shielded. Even if you were to climb the chain, you wouldn't get in.
Yeah.
But then sometimes the magic fails and they fall from the sky. No one really knows why.
Yeah.
And inside you find new kinds of magic. You find all of the things that might change the world. In fact, one fell, and it's said that plague that's now killing one of the races of the world was found inside one. So many of the members of that race are sort of seeking more in the hope that maybe one of them has a cure in if one of them had a plague in.
That's awesome.
I love playing with worlds. I love building worlds and going, oh, this and this and this. And this and this, and we can do this as well, and add that. And
you're talking to the right person with the right group of people, because we have run for the past, I'll say for the past year, because we've done 2 TTRPGs. One TTRPG has gone even longer. Chronicles of Andrasia, Homebrew. We actually just finished like a month ago. We finished an almost 2-year campaign, and my Book of Astra campaign has been going for a year, and we're going to be ending next year. So it's our final chapter of our game. So we love epic storytelling. We love world building. We love it, love it, love it. So I'll ask you this.
You are going to adore Era of the Consortium then, because there's one other thing I haven't told you about yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a living campaign. That means that if you play Era of the Consortium and you submit a session, you affect the future of the Consortium.
Oh.
So I can give you a link so you can share it in the notes or the comments or whatever. If you go to era-games.com/era the consortium/living-campaign, you will find the list of everything that's happened over the 3 or 4 years we've been running the living campaign.
That is amazing. That's really cool.
I just did a 10th anniversary 24-hour game, right? Mm-hmm. So we had up to 3 sessions running concurrently for 24 hours solid. They blew up a planet. They blew up a planet. Like, part of the story that we did, it was a terrorist organization. The resistance is always kind of labeled as a terrorist organization, but there's one guy in particular, Red Hand Malachi. He was known. He's a Zimian, one of the insectoid aliens, and he was known for blowing up a biodome on a a populated planet with a non-breathable atmosphere and killing very many people in that biodome. Now, he was lost. He was presumed dead. But in the 24-hour game, I put a plot together on his behalf. And he was a computer hacker. He was an excellent computer hacker. He had actually been rescued and put in a life support pod. They didn't know who he was. So he was rescued by the Consortium, presumed to be a survivor of the biodome, and he was put in a life support pod. He had been in a life support pod for a year. But he had outward access over, communication. So he had managed to communicate with this other member of the resistance and radicalize that person, which then led to this person getting a group together to A, free him, and B, really send a message to the Consortium that what they're doing is not acceptable. So they plan, there's a world which 200 years ago was basically built up through slave labor of the Zimians. And they arranged this PR stunt because a general defected to the resistance. So they just went, right, general, you go to this planet, you stand here, you say these things, we film them, and it's like you hand over this planet officially to the Zimians. That is a thing that happened. The session succeeded, and now officially that planet now belongs to the Zimians when it didn't before. They attacked Selena Hayden, who's the head of Hayden Bank, the richest of all of the companies. And Era the Consortium, for some quick context, is a corporate meritocracy. So it's run by the best, the most profitable companies.
Yeah.
Hayden Bank is the best of the best, controls all the money. It is the top company. The CEO of that company was assassinated by a small team. And believe me, I ran that session and I did not give them an easy time. Yeah. They 2 of the 3 people who went on that mission died in the attempt.
Oh my gosh.
Only one of them walked away.
Wow.
But they assassinated her, pushed her off her own building. She lands on the plaza below, splatters everywhere. She is ended.
Yeah.
During that session. And then finally, Red Hand Malachi went with a group to land on the planet Nodens, it was the second planet colonized in this region of space, but it was colonized by some religious fanatics who say that if any alien ever lands on the planet, they'll blow it up. Well, the answer was call their bluff. They're being spacist. We need to do something about this. Anyone should be allowed to be on any planet. They land on this planet. They're trying to negotiate to get rid of the aliens rather than blow up the planet because, proved. And what happens is Red Hand Malachi, gets out of his pod, which he is able to do, and sort of limps along, gets into this great big temple they've got where they've got these explosives attached to the planet's core ready to blow it up because, they are officially ready. And he activates these explosives. Boom, planet gone. Kills everyone in his pod, in the group.
Good
around him.
lord.
It was a massacre, dude. It was a massacre.
Oh my gosh.
I am well known for killing off my parties, but it's not even my fault. Like, I just, yeah. It like really big things can change.
Yeah.
There are only about, I don't know, roughly 20 planets in the Consortium. One of them just exploded.
And so canonically within the world,
Canonically,
it's gone.
that planet is now crossed out on the map. You know, it's gone.
Interesting.
Right?
That's really cool, man. I absolutely love. I love that that you have this community of people that are helping build this world. That's just so
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean,
Anyone
and
could
giving
do it.
people
That's
the
just
freedom to do it is really important to me. I think it's something that it's why people like yourself end up homebrewing things. It's because you don't have a world that you can build into, right?
Yeah.
That you want to have that narrative control over the world. And if more people gave the opportunity and put the work in, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's not a small amount of work to maintain a universe like this. But if we put the work in on the game creator end, and we give you the opportunity to go, you know what, I did that. Here's my stream, and what we did at the end of this stream is blow up a planet.
Yeah.
You know, this epic story which culminates in this. Fantastic. You know, let's make it part of the world. Let's make it the real thing that really does matter.
Well, that is just absolutely awesome, Ed. Thank you for just telling us about the game. Guys, go check out the Era series. Ed, before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to shout out? Any projects you have upcoming? I know you mentioned you do have another one. You have something else coming out pretty soon.
Yeah,
give you time to shout
absolutely.
anything out.
Let me see what I can come up with. So I've got 3 more expansions coming for Era of the Consortium. We just did our 10th anniversary Kickstarter. We're going to be doing an expansion that gives you a lot more options for weapons and sort of weapon building, customization in your own way. I'm a big fan of Dead Space, if that hadn't come across by now. And I've been replaying Dead Space, and I'm sort of building on the sorts of things you can do in the Dead Space the remake that they've done. Which is very similar in terms of the weapon bit to the original.
I actually played on stream in October. I played, I think, 1 or 2 sessions of it. So
right, I've not quite finished the game on the replay, but I'm a big Dead Space fan. I did 1, I did 2, I did 3. I did them on hardcore mode, and you know I've got platinum trophy for all those. So I've done a lot of work on those. I'm sort of taking it nice and slow with Dead Space. It's one of my favorite game stories of all time. Yeah. So, you know, I've been playing with that. I've got a new book of time travel sessions, the final book of the series, at least final book of the series I have planned. I've always had 6 books. This is the 6th book, finally ready. And the other one I've got is being able to make your own company, which can be part of the Senate.
Awesome.
So you can build your own company. In terms of new games, I've got a few things going on right now. I've got a game which is inspired by Doom, where you play as Doom guys, like a squad of Doom guys. And the mechanics in that are all focusing around, at least the unique mechanics in that, I should say. Every game has sort of unique mechanics involved in it. This one involves initiative. Initiative is something that I've never been... I don't feel like the Era D10, if I'm going to criticize the system, there's one area where it's weakest. It's probably the initiative system. This throws away everything you know about initiative and looks at your combat readiness instead of rolling a dice and just adding it to your initiative number. You're going, right, if you are combat ready and you have lots of ammo and you're not taken by surprise, then you get to decide what order everyone acts in, including the enemies. In the middle, you know, like medium, shall we say, combat readiness, you write down where you want to go, in what order you want to go, and the GM will decide where the enemies go in between that. And in the worst case, you have to write down blind where you're going to go, and the GM just puts that in place and puts the enemies around it. So depending on how ready you are, that's going to decide your initiative. and you'll get all your classic sort of Doom inspired weapons, from an energy blaster halberd to, I can't believe it's not the BFG, sniper rifles, assault rifles, and all the rest of it, all the things you'd expect from Doom. And I've already got a world existing, which this is sort of it's not on the same world, I know that for sure. It's sort of on the Mars of that world, as it were, because Doom. But basically, I already have like demons and angels kicking the crap out of each other in one game, Era Forbidden. So I sort of went, right, well, I'm taking that scenario, putting it on Mars, and having the Doom guys here.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun to put together. And then there's the biggie. I'm working on Era Soul Mist, which is a Dark Souls inspired game.
Oh, okay.
Where I have thrown away absolutely everything that everyone normally thinks and knows about combat in tabletop role-playing games. It does not work the same way as other things. I can't tell you too much more about it because it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, but be on the lookout.
But it is a completely unique way of approaching combat in tabletop role-playing games that I have never seen anywhere else. And I've playtested it and asked several experts, have you ever seen anything quite like this? And the answer is no. It is so fast that the main comment that people had during the playtest was, wait, it's my turn already? And that's what I want from combat in a tabletop role-playing game that is Dark Souls. I want you to feel like you are rolling around and stabbing. I want you to feel like you're going, right, is now the right time to drink my Estus flask or not?
Yeah.
So I've always tried to capture the essence of the game within the mechanics of what you're playing.
Yeah.
And Dark Souls is definitely a challenge. I've built an entire world around, Dark Souls is another set of games that I am a massive fan of and have been for a long time.
They make me swear a lot, so I'm...
I mean, I've never come closer to throwing my controller through a screen except in Dead Space 2 and Dark Souls 1.
I played Bloodborne, and I was like, nah, screw this. I was like 5 minutes, and I was like, no, this is the... And then Elden Ring was another one that I was like, I got actually kind of far in it, and my wife literally could hear me swearing up a storm, and I'm about to snap my controller in half because it's pissing me off so much.
That's definitely understandable.
She's like, I know what game you're playing.
Unpopular opinion, I actually think Elden Ring was not a great game. I think that the open world did not actually play in its favor for the way it is, because what it led to is just a lot of grinding rather than an experience like, say, Dark Souls 2, where it's a bit more linear. But you had options, but it was quite linear. You could go here or there, and then you'd go to the next boss, the next boss, the next boss.
Yeah.
I got to the first boss in Elden Ring, and then just had no chance whatsoever. I went and looked it up and was like, if you're not level 30, forget about it. Well, I got there about level 10, because I'm reasonably experienced with these games.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, okay, I'll go and grind 20 levels then. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I don't think the open world really worked in the favor of the game format. That's my opinion. I definitely understand why some people like a real challenge that you can get your teeth into. I've just been playing the new Prince of Persia game, Lost Crown. I didn't feel even vaguely inclined to throw my controller through the screen, but I have gone a few times because some of the sequence of moves that you have to do in that are quite intense and frustrating.
Oh yeah, look, I totally get it. Well, and thanks again so much for taking time and talking to me about your game. It's really awesome. Guys, go check it out. We are going to make sure to include any links, Ed, that you want to send me. We'll include it below in the description. Go check out Era. Thank you so much. And please sure that if you have not followed us here at Comics in the Cross, do that. We have 3 different channels right here. You are watching this on our Tabletop channel, but we also have a comic and video game channel. Please give us likes and subscribes. But check out some of our just awesome content. We're doing interviews with special guests. We are playing games. It's just some awesome stuff. So go check it out. Also, we do stream on Twitch, so be sure to follow us at twitch.tv/comicsinthecross. And guys, that is it for us tonight. Stay safe, stay nerdy, be blessed. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.